So let's start off then this morning with we record all the calls, so just to make you aware of that, and there are captions available through the magic of Zoom at the bottom of the screen if you'd like to use those as well. But let's start off by saying hello to Sarah Smout, who is on the call this morning. Love to have you. Where are you, Sarah? Just remind us where you are.
Hello, I'm in Skipton.
Right,
So,
so not a million miles away. And how would you describe what you do, Sarah?
it's a really good question. I think at the moment I'm evolving a little bit. Um, I kind of call myself an environmental music arts researcher, but I feel like that's a bit wordy. So I'm working on it. But yeah, I am very much focused on the environment and all the issues surrounding our impact upon it and our various connections and roles and responsibilities. So it all comes out in my music and my poetry. And recently I've been doing more field recording as well. So I've been taking lots of water recordings with hydrophones and also moss recordings, which is really exciting. So I feel like I'm at the start of a new adventure with all that, and where that'll take me I'm not quite sure.
And I've just seen that Harriet has just joined the call. Hello, Harriet. Nice to have you with us.
Yay.
You've done some work with
Hello.
Harriet and Rob, haven't you, as well, in the past, or maybe at the currently as well?
Yeah, yeah. We've done a few projects together over the years now. Most recent one was part of Harriet's research for her PhD, the watershed project in Ullswater, which involved going around and speaking to various people about their connections to Ullswater, so people who live and work there. Um, and there were different artists involved. There were five different artists, so it was about bringing different perspectives and different voices together to think about, if I remember correctly, Harriet, which voices we choose to listen to when we're talking about landscape conservation. So that was really interesting. Bringing arts and science together is something I'm really keen on exploring. I think they need each other, and I think they open up, yeah, different perspectives and a wider view.
Okay, all right. Well, let's. I'm going to play a clip. I'm going to share my screen, play a clip of you in action, and perhaps once we've watched it, you can let us know where it was and what was going on. So just bear with me, everybody,
Sure.
while I just make sure my sound is turned on. I think it is. Right, here we go.
Something has changed today. We nearly always leaving, but grasses are green for such a long time here. Something is stranger now. Why do the oceans grow and the forests of old start to disappear? I've seen it all from up here in my endless in the sky. I've seen it all from up here where the mountains don't reach high.
That's lovely. Where was that, Sarah?
Um, so I don't know if it was maybe a bit juddery for other people, but if it was, it wasn't supposed to be.
This is my poor connection back home.
Yeah. Um, so that was filmed on Fleet Moss quite a few years ago, actually now. But it was part of a project I was doing with Yorkshire Peat Partnership to raise awareness of the restoration work that they're doing on peat bogs. So we just thought it would be a really good idea to go up to one of their main sites at the time and film that music video there, just to literally show the expanse of the damage, which you can obviously see there, but also add that message in about the work that they're doing and how important that is. So again, another example of kind of bringing music and art into a scientific environmental campaign. And it was really successful. Got featured at COP26. It was on BBC News, various other kind of UN conferences as well. Because I think sometimes these conferences can be quite, dense and, heavy. And more and more, I think they're involving arts as a way to just kind of refresh people's minds about, you know, the human and kind of emotive elements of these issues, as well as the hard science, which is, you know, a lot to take in.
And do you see that as part of your, you know, role as an artist is to influence, persuade, kind of be political, actually?
I think so. I think it is important. You know, I think we have to remember that how urgent these issues are, and there's nothing new about that. Like, artists have always been documenting what's going on in the world. Um, and I think that's only natural. And my way just happens to be with these issues that I'm really passionate about personally. Um, and I think it's about connecting with people. So, you know, my stories that I have in my music are also quite personal, but they resonate with other people.
Yeah.
Which is you know, a big part of what the show that I'm working on now is about. The show that you mentioned, I'm bringing to Kendal Mountain Festival. So yeah, it's really about my own connections to water and how it's kind of been a really big part of my life in various ways, but then also how that resonates more globally, and bringing the sounds in as well, bringing the field recordings in.
So right. So tell us about the show then you'll be doing at the Mountain Festival. It sounds like it's more than just you and a cello.
Yeah, so my shows are generally, so it is me and the cello, and I've got a loop pedal. So I layer up lots of different sounds with that, with the cello and my voice. I've also got spoken word and poetry in there, as well as songs and soundscapes, and then the water recordings as well. So I've been out recording, recently I've been out recording salmon jumping up the River Ribble at Stainforth Force, which is near
How
Settle.
beautiful. Yeah.
Which they do every year, of course. And I've been going the past few years. I've just kind of got a little bit obsessed with it. There's something really moving about watching them, because the Stainforth Force is actually quite, it's like a number of staggered waterfalls, and you just think, how are they going to make it? Because you see so many try, and then they just get, you know.
And remind me, they're doing this because they're going back to their spawning areas to.
Exactly.
Do they spawn and they die? I can't remember. Do they come back down again?
So about 95% of them will die afterwards, but
Okay.
a few of the lucky ones get back to the sea again and try again. I think they're called Celts with a K. But yeah, it's a magic thing to watch. And I've been recording with a hydrophone in the pool that they were swimming around in before they jumped. And I think I've got the sounds of some salmon kind of swimming past the microphone, because they kind of all like hang out there and then they suddenly go, because physiologically they change once they get back to the river as well. From being out at sea, they undergo this massive physiological change. So there's that. I won't talk about salmon forever. Could go on. But yeah, there's moss recordings I've been doing as well. So I've got this little tiny probe mic, which you can put into the peat bog essentially, but into the moss, and it picks up all the sounds that are going on there. So it's a very interesting sound, and it's very intriguing. So there's that.
That sounds amazing. I'm just looking at Andrew Deakin, who's wisely and honed into what you're talking about, because he knows quite a lot about sound recordings, having worked at Full of Noises for many years. Is this all? I'm intrigued as to how, Andrew, how would you go about recording moss?
Probably the same way Sarah does. Yeah. It's a tricky one. Yeah. No, it's exactly. Is that Jez Riley French's? Yeah. Jez Riley French is a guy, sound recordist, field recordist, who's been making hydrophones and various other microphones for years.
Lots of people seem to know this
released this microphone that has got a probe on it that allows you to stick it in all sorts of places to record. And it's opened up this incredible world, which Sarah's obviously starting to explore, which is fantastic. Yeah, so much fun.
Yeah.
So you weave these sounds into your kind of narrative, do you, Sarah? Your sort of audio narrative?
Yeah, that's right. So it's still quite new to me, this world, and it's a whole it's a can of worms. But I've
But they make a noise as well.
yeah. Now I'm just going around everywhere thinking, could I record that?
Yeah.
But yeah, the sounds are coming into the show now, and at the moment they're more of just an atmospheric backdrop.
Yeah.
Because I'm still learning about how to kind of maybe sonically manipulate them into the music. That's my next kind of phase that I want to explore, that I'm hopefully got the funding to set some time aside to do that. But yeah, it's just because this show is all about water, I really felt like bringing those sounds into, you know, theatres and getting them on the stereo system would just be really kind of immersive for people to enjoy.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's where I'm at with the sounds. But yeah, the other side of the show is it's kind of a personal journey as well, because last year when I was going through quite heavy grief, I was kind of just pulled towards being by water, which I always had done, but I was always a little bit scared of it. And for me, there was something about grief that actually made me more fearless. So I just felt this pull to the water, and I ended up doing loads of wild swimming and just exploring different, you know, waters around this country, but also kind of towards the Hebrides, and I went to Uist. And so I just had so much water in the brain, and it's quite interesting because I was actually pushed in by my swimming teacher when I was 4. So I'd been quite a nervous swimmer.
On purpose?
She was fired.
Okay.
My mum got her fired.
But you're scarred for life as a result.
But well, yeah, I've always had this you know, fear of deep water, of not being able to touch the ground. But then there's obviously, we know that being by water, even for just a few minutes, completely calms your nervous system. So I spent so much time by water and in water, and it was really healing. So that's the sort of personal side of it, and then obviously through that, discovered all the things about it that completely astonished me, like the salmon, like how you can find kind of 360 million year old tropical sea fossils in a riverbed in the Dales, and all these stories that are in these watery landscapes. Yeah.
Sounds amazing. And Helen, are you waving to ask a question? By the way, Amy Stretch Parker, I love your companion. Looks very happy. Helen.
Yes, I am. Sorry, I'm on my laptop and I couldn't find the little hand.
Don't worry.
I usually I love what you're saying. It's exactly what I'm doing, but the end result is completely different. But I'm working with Jez Riley French's microphones as well, and I've been working in Teesdale, and I also started walking alone after a really distressing bereavement, and yeah, it's exactly what I'd love to meet you. I'm actually just outside Harrogate, so if you ever fancy meeting up, it'd be great. But I'm a filmmaker. I'm not a musician. But no, the musicians I work with are much weirder than your kind of music. I mean, it's more what they call squeaky bump music. But working with all those natural sounds, and I did a workshop with Jez, who actually used to live in the same village I'm in here, and he said that he records tons and tons of stuff that's just really boring, because all the stuff I've been getting is really boring. And he said you just have to keep trying. So it's really great to hear you. It's brilliant.
Thanks, Helen. I'm actually playing in Skipton on Saturday if you're not busy. Skipton Town Hall.
Okay. Yeah. No, that sounds great. I've just been looking at your website actually, so I'll get in touch. All right.
Already the world is a better place through that connection being made. Well, yeah. Sarah, thank you so much for telling us about that on the call. And yeah, I know you're regularly gigging in various places, but it was great to hone in on the Kendal Mountain Festival. When is that, the end of November? Remind me.
So it's Thursday, 21st of November. It's quite a late show because they've got stuff going on. So it's a 9 o'clock show, 9 p.m. in the Brewery Arts.
Great. Okay, lovely stuff. All right, well, good luck with it. And
thank you so much for having me.
Pleasure. And it's always, you're always doing interesting things. And I like the fact that as an artist, you're trying to make, you're trying to make people think differently as well, which sometimes is what art is about, isn't it? So keep plowing that furrow, because it's not always easy, funding and all that kind of thing. But it's great to hear your stuff, and thanks for coming on this morning.
Thanks very much, Tom.
All right, okay. Well, speaking of interesting music, we're about to hear some more very interesting music via BlueJam and Jilly Jarman. So, Jilly, welcome this morning. Amy's going to pull out your slides, which I know have got a bit of sound on them. But first of all, tell us a bit about BlueJam. What is BlueJam? Remind us all what BlueJam is.
Yes, so basically I started BlueJam in 2002, and I was just thinking back to our original aims, the little tagline we had on our website, and it was to develop the creation of new music and new ways of making music. So right back at that point, I was very interested in not only what is created, but also how things are listened to, how things are engaged with. And I think that's sort of like it's becoming part of sort of mainstream concerts now, the whole idea of a relaxed concert, the whole idea of being able to have an interactive audience, an energetic audience, a responsive audience, and also to deal with the fallout of COVID, where a lot of people now don't go out to gigs because they don't want to feel trapped listening to something for 2 hours. So also, when we started our music project, and because we were mainly working with young people, there was quite a lot of people that said, you should just be doing what the young people want you to do. You shouldn't be doing what you want to do. And actually, yes, of course, you want to respond to need. And on the other hand, it's like you're saying, well, you've never eaten a strawberry, so you're not allowed to know what strawberry tastes like, because you can't ask for it. So unless you know how to ask for something, we're not going to give it to you, or we're not going to give you access to it. So I think a lot of what BlueJam has been really pushing for is actually how it's amazing when people either they're confronted, or it comes in sideways somehow, with different ways of either creating their own music, talking to each other as musicians, communicating across genres and across art forms, how people come up with the most amazing comments. So, and actually, one thing was that I taught improvisation at what it was called the CIA then, Cumbria Institute of the Arts, and I was mainly working with metal musicians, metal guitarists. And two of those young men, 2 years after I finished the course, said, "We get it. Actually, we're using improvisation all the time now." And that, for me, that was so good. And one of them actually started coming and working with BlueJam and sort of really sort of like carrying on that idea and that work. So this concert that I'm just about to talk about on Monday.
If we pull the slides up, Amy, and then we'll go for it, Jilly. Yeah.
So Amy is going to just go very quickly past the first clip, because I actually want to play the music after I've talked about it. So if we go straight to the second clip, if possible. Yes. So Semay Wu is a wonderful musician who I actually met some time ago, but we haven't met since. And if you just look at this work, on the right-hand side is one of her Instagram little images that she's putting up to promote the tour, which she's doing with Frise Lumière. And you'll see that there's a little cutout of BlueJam Arts Space, Penrith. There's a little map, and it's all just very low tech, low key, and it's just delightful. And I'm going to put that on our wall, because I just think it's a really nice creative way into promoting yourself, which I know a lot of people find so tricky to do. So, she has done some amazing photographs of herself playing, but also you get this side of it, which is where you show a little bit of your thought process, the way your mind works, what delights you, and then people can see how that goes into the music. And I've just taken a little bit from the Bandcamp. It's Scatter Archive, and it's basically her newly released album, which I've just bought. And you can buy it for nothing cheap, but I just definitely recommend that we support artists and don't buy it for nothing. So if you just listen to a little bit of this, aural interfaces start to bind into the journeys of a sighing machine, a serious engine, jelly, crank, running on the fumes of ah. I mean, it's just absolutely wonderful. And already I can see how I would want to draw or mold clay or even knit furiously to the music that this person is creating. And that's what we're inviting people to do. So some time ago, Kate Brundrett and me, we did quite a few Art Moves Art events where the main element was music that was produced by professional musicians, and then the audience was invited to respond in other ways. Usually those ways didn't make noise, didn't make sound, but you know, maybe the whole environment would suddenly be covered with drawings or doodles or big pieces of paper, you know, made into things. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to take the whole of our old rambling building on Monday. People can sit in the small concert room and listen to the music or draw or write, or they can be in other spaces with the music piped out where they can be a bit more noisy, or if there are children coming, people who want to, you know, experience it in a more relaxed way or move around. We're going to have a dance room as well. So at the moment we've got about 16 or 17 people. It's only £5. If you are between 11 and 24, it's actually free as part of our Create Jam project. So please get in touch with me, jilly@bluejamarts.org, if you would like to either come along on Monday or be given the Zoom codes to watch it as we stream it. So if you do that and you create work, then we'd love to see it, and we will be putting up a web page of all the work that's been created. So this is actually hosted by a strand of our Create Jam project, where we've got 6 young people at the moment enrolled in our animation and soundtracks project. And Kana, who you can see on the Zoom here today, Kana Rostor, she's just in Kendal, and she's a composer, and she is joining us on that project, but also she has started working with BlueJam. I sort of talk about being thrown into the water. I mean, Kana was definitely thrown in the deep end, I hope with less unpleasant consequences. So she just sort of like, come in, lead this session, and she just led an amazing session, and the children have been talking about it since. And she's also going to start co-leading our baby and mini jam sessions. So really pleased to have a composer from Kendal as part of our team, and she'll have a chance to say something about herself if she wants to introduce herself at the end of this. So can we just go to the next slide, please? Yes, so these are some great images from Semay, and if you just go to the next one, we've been sharing animations and ideas between the group, and this is the first one that was shared. I don't know, can you play it? We're teaching each other how to use Procreate Dreams, which is the animation development of the Procreate iPad app. So we're having discussions in the group as to whether people want to use After Effects, Procreate Dreams. So we're just helping each other out. Maybe you could just play it again. What the artist said about it was, they said basically it's about you look at the clock or you look at the figure. So it's just very, very interesting, I think, how things are. So let's hear a bit of Semay's music, and please do get in touch with me if you'd like to come. 4 o'clock till 6 o'clock Monday. Young people are very, very welcome, and if you want to come late, that's fine. If you have to leave early, that's also fine. And we're going to have a meal afterwards, a shared meal where people can talk it through with the artists. I love the fact that we had a cello from Sarah, and we got another cello here. I can just feel myself making marks in the paper. Ready. So just when you need to go on to the next, that's us.
Wow, that's amazing. Yeah, cellos rock this morning. That's great, Jilly. Thank you so much. And again, really stretching the boundaries of music and audience participation and interaction and co-creation, all that kind of stuff. That's lovely, really, really interesting stuff. And I hope that's a successful event, Jilly. Thank you for sharing that with us this morning. And where was your colleague again? Kana, hello. Just what's your role that you're doing at the moment?
So I actually just recently moved back to Kendal in Cumbria. I grew up here, but I just moved back after being in North Wales for about 6 years.
Yeah.
And so I'm just trying to kind of establish myself here and meet with people. So I was very thankful to come across BlueJam, and I'm quite interested in lots of different forms of music work, so composition, but then also working with children and teaching lessons, music workshops, performance, all that kind of thing. Yeah.
You've landed on your feet with BlueJam by the sound of things. That's
Yes,
great.
definitely.
Well, very nice to have you with us, Kana.
Thank
I think
you.
we've landed on our feet with Kana as well.
That's great. Lovely. All right. Right, I'm just conscious of time. So we are now going to shift gear slightly and travel down the M6 and then whatever the motorway to Liverpool is. What's the motorway to Liverpool from the M6? 63, 65? I don't know. But Abby is there anyway. Very well, very nice to see you, Abby. Abby Bradshaw. And again, Amy's going to pull up your slides, Abby, and you're going to tell us a bit about the People's Powerhouse, which I suspect a lot of people here will be intrigued to know what it's about because they may not have heard of it before. So, Abby, the floor is yours.
Okay, hello everyone. It's so lovely to be here this morning, and it's great listening to all the things that you have, the two people who've presented have been up to. Super interesting. Oh, thank you. I'm up now. Yeah, it's great to be here. Aside from working, I'm an artist as well, so it's great that this is a thing, really, and that it's a great way for people to connect, and what an inspiring way to spend a Friday morning. So I'm going to give a little introduction to People's Powerhouse for those of you who do not know what it is. So People's Powerhouse is a CIC. It's been around for 7 or 8 years. I've worked for People's Powerhouse for just under a year now. And it's all based in the north of England. And its aims really are to connect as many people as possible across the north, as many organisations or individuals, and just to amplify the voices of Northerners and, yeah, to connect people in places that I guess feel disconnected. So I'm currently running a project called Coast to Coast, which we started in July, and it will finish in the following July. And it's a journey across the north, from the northwest coast to the northeast coast. And what we're doing along the way is we are joining in on gatherings or meetups or community meetups or anything that's happening, like any gatherings like this. And we're taking a set of key questions along the way. And as we take them, we are listening to the responses and collecting them and putting them together to create like a collective Northern voice. So that's what I think we've had 3 so far. We're going to have one in Barrow and Furness in a couple of months, so I can send more details about that when when I have more details. So yeah, I guess today, sorry, could I go on to the next slide, please? Yeah, this is just an example of like what we've been up to. So in Blackpool, we went to something called Grow Blackpool, which was really cool. A community centre that had an allotment, and I met up with the volunteer group, the Wednesday volunteer group, who meet up there and they spend their morning there, and they grow things that they put back into the community cafe. So I took some questions there. We went to Squash in Liverpool, which is actually quite a similar concept, really. It's also a community space. It's an art space for the community. So that's where we've been so far, and we're looking to go to lots more places across the north. And we do have a winter program that's being announced today. So,
and what I mean, if I could just ask you, are you just trying to influence people to think differently, to behave differently, to do different things?
No, we're acting as listeners purely. So we're not wanting to influence anybody in any way. We're wanting to listen to. We're listening and collecting the responses to some key questions. So then we've almost got we've got 3 key questions that we're going to have in. It's almost like a big box. So we've got 3 boxes. And with each place that we go to and we collect the responses in, the box will be bigger. And then at the end of the project, when we look through all of the things that we've listened to and all of the responses that we've heard, we're then going to commission an artist and do some sort of visual report of our findings across the north. I guess and then we're hoping to take that. We have an annual convention. People's Powerhouse have an annual convention, which the next one's going to be in Liverpool in spring 2025. But they've been all across. A couple of years ago, it was in Middlesbrough. There's been one in Preston. Like, they're just always dotted around the north. So we're going to take this visual report to our convention to then, share with wider audience. And then we're also aiming to take it to more decision-making spaces. So, mayors and leaders, we have good connections with some of the northern mayors. So at some of the meetings, we're aiming to take this potential film or zine or, whatever it might be, and show what the northerners are actually saying. I guess that's the main intention with it. So yeah, this slide's just a little bit about a little few visuals of what I've just got a question in, which is a really good question. But yeah, we're aiming to listen to all parts, rural and urban, because a lot of things that we've got a question from Sue saying, are you listening in more rural places as well as urban? So yeah, we're aiming to go to anywhere that invites us, really. So Barrow and Furness Art Gene have asked us to come up in a couple of weeks. And if anybody on this chat is a part of or aware of any happenings, meetings, whatever, and they'd like to invite us along, the tea and coffee and cakes are on us. So that's always a bonus, isn't it? So yeah, please put it in the chat. Can I get the next slide, please? So I'm just going to share some of the questions that we've been asking and ask if anybody feels inclined to pop some responses into the chat. That would be welcomed, but also no pressure. Yes, is that? So yeah, tell us what positive action you are aware of, you are involved in, or know about in your community. There's been some great responses so far, especially when we've been having like face-to-face interactions. People initially are like, oh, I don't know, and then you just find a lot of people are like, oh, actually, and then they're like, oh yeah, and then this, and watching that unravel within people is really lovely to see that it's not something that you can immediately, maybe a lot of people can immediately think of, but then when you dig a bit deeper, I guess there's lots of amazing things that are going on, especially in the north. And the next one, yeah, is how would it feel to have a bigger say in your community or an influence on the things that matter to you?
Yeah, so some people are engaged in their community and some people are less engaged, aren't they?
Yeah. And I wonder, is that something that differs? I'm just thinking back to the question that Sue asked earlier about, are we going to rural and urban places? Like, is that something that changes within those spaces, in rural spaces and urban spaces? Is there, to people, I'm from an urban space, but to people who are living in rural spaces, is there maybe a stronger sense
think
of
if you came,
community or a lack of because
yeah, I
of
think if you
the
came to Cumbria, Abby, I
Mm,
think, I think nationally, I think DEFRA classifies it's about 15% of the population live in rural areas as opposed to 85%
yeah,
live in urban or towns. But in Cumbria, we've got some decent urban, it's about 50-50 in Cumbria. So in other words, the proportion of people living in rural areas in Cumbria is a lot bigger than most parts of England in particular. And I think, there's some remarkable stuff that goes on in rural areas, if you consider how many people actually are living there. And what Sue says there, BlueJam is an exemplar, bringing together more marginalised rural young people's voices in every sense. It's a good
yeah.
example. But certainly, I think your eyes would be opened if you came to particular spots in Cumbria and perhaps spent, I don't know, a week travelling around villages in Cumbria.
Yeah,
You'd find out some interesting stuff going on.
yeah. I wouldn't that doesn't surprise me in any way, I
Yeah.
guess, because yeah, it's there
And
can be a
we've got
big
quite a few market towns as well in Cumbria, which,
yeah,
so I live in Cockermouth, and there's an awful lot of stuff that goes on in Cockermouth where I live.
yeah.
But again, it's about, and we're always trying to think about how we cut through to the bigger sections of the community and,
Hmm.
underrepresented people, et cetera, et cetera. So it would be an interesting experience, I think, for you to come up to Cumbria. Has
Yeah.
anybody else got any other observations or Amy, you've put in a couple of thoughts there, Amy Stretch Parker. Tell us a bit about the local poverty truth commissions.
Well, I'm just thinking about the one in Barrow, to be honest. It's just like there's some really interesting stuff where people are getting together and their voices are being heard, and that those voices are being then relayed onto local government to action changes. So I'm just thinking if you come into some of these areas, they're kind of a great community group. So you've already got like a group of people who want to be heard as well, and uh, that might be a nice way to engage. And that's looking at like the lived experience of poverty, and I suppose that's quite different in Cumbria again because of the rural areas. But yeah, I don't know. I'm just going to put that in there.
Yeah,
Yeah, thanks so much, Amy. I really appreciate that.
and everyone here that Amy's mentioned, the other Amy's mentioned there, Abby, it's an Arts Council Creative People and Places project going on in West Cumbria that's been going on for 18 months now, and they've pulled together
Hmm.
people's jury quite recently, where people are making decisions about how to use cash, to put it crudely, to do things. What do people actually, so very much in a co-creative perspective. So in other words, actually asking people what they want to happen to funding possibilities and having things done with them rather than to them, if I can put it like that.
Right.
So
Yeah.
everyone here with that website that Amy's put in there would be worth you having a look at. There's another Creative People and Places project going on in Barrow at the moment under the auspices of an organisation called Barrow Full, which has been going on for about three or 4 years or so. There's people from the Call on Barrow that will know a bit more about it than I do. But again, that's another arts council specifically focused on areas of the country. There's about 40 of these across the whole of England. We've got 2 in Cumbria. Areas of the country that have been under-resourced and underrepresented as far as arts funding is concerned. Again, might be worth you exploring what that's all about too. Certainly, if you've been to Art Gene, or if you're going to Art Gene in Barrow, they'll know all about that as well.
Yes.
And Virginia's just putting there, Westmoreland Furnace has committed to a community power model, and this project sounds a great to support to developing that. So Virginia is a councillor, the lead on arts. I think I've got that right, Virginia, at Westmoreland Furnace, which is one of the new 2 local authorities that Cumbria is now ruled by. So that might be worth thinking for you to think about as well. So hopefully,
Thanks so much.
Virginia, have I got that right? Half what you just said there?
Yes. So my portfolio is sustainable communities and localities. So it reaches, to the parts that other portfolios don't reach. And it was also very slippery. So arts and culture is a sort of like something of a more defined part of it. But I mean, we all know the great benefit that arts and culture has to people's lives in health, art, education, mental health, ability to live their best lives. So what Abby's been describing is asking questions that I hope everybody's asking, and then what do we do with the answers? And how do we put all the parts together so that people do have better lives?
Okay.
So
all right, thanks, Virginia. So Abby, thank you for telling us about the People's Powerhouse and the Coast to Coast project that you're obviously at the heart of. Hopefully there's been some interesting little connections there and some ideas for you to think about.
Yeah.
People are very receptive to being contacted after this call if you want to pick up with anybody about any of those ideas as well.
Yeah, that's brilliant. Thank you so much, everyone.
Right. Okay, nice to meet you. You're welcome.
Yeah, lovely to meet you.
Yeah, okay.
All.
I'm conscious of time, so we are now going to quietly go down the A590 to Barrow, where Rachel is sitting patiently, waiting to tell us about the hugely beautiful Sankey collection and the next steps in developing that further, I suspect. So Rachel, over to you to tell us what the shout out is for, and I'll get those 2 slides up for you while you're doing that.
Well, thank you very much for having me and giving me this space to talk about what we're all obsessing about at Signal every day, to be honest. So for those who don't know, Signal and Film and Media is based in Barrow, and we are a heritage and digital arts charity. And we work all year round with adults and young people within the community, offering heritage and digital arts. And it's free to get involved. And if anyone's interested, please do have a look at our website. But I'm here particularly to tell you about the Sankey project, which I'm working on. And the Sankeys were essentially a brother duo who documented life in Barrow and Cumbria from the 1900s, and they did this for over 70 years. And they amassed a massive amount of photographs and negatives and postcards. And some years ago, these were basically stored in a garage at Green Nod by the widow of one of the Sankeys. And you can find out more about that project of that processing and digitising and cataloguing, which took years by some very dedicated volunteers, of one of which is here today, Derek. And those images and the glass plates are now with Cumbria Archives, but you can access some of them in the Barrow Archives, and you can access all the images now on the Sankey Photography Archive, which is online. And so that research went on for years, and throughout that we were engaging with the community along the research period. But we're now in a phase where it's very much about, now the archive is there online and available for the community and available for artists to access it as well. We are now about commissioning artists who can engage with the community in a more meaningful way. And alongside that, with the Signal team and with the Sankey advisors, consultants, or as I like to call them, the Sankey world experts, And so we are now currently commissioning for a photographer or lens-based artist that will work with the community and has a particular focus on photography archives. And we're quite broad about what that might mean. We're just asking for some kind of participatory element to it in its broadest sense. So that could be workshops, it could be an event, it could be whatever the artist or photographer would like to see it as, what they'll know their practice best. And so the idea being that the archive is used, and we've got our Sankey team which can advise and lead the artist photographer through this process, and the Sankey team. And it will result, we hope, as well as activity and workshops, but in some kind of exhibition or event. At the moment, Signal are undergoing major refurbishment on the ground floor, so we don't have a gallery at the moment. So we're looking at something that might be either within the public realm, or the idea is very open what that can be. And that discussion can be, you know, throughout the process that the photographer artist is in residence, really. I don't know what else to say, really. So basically, it's just a great opportunity, we think. We get really excited about it because it means that we can, you know, basically just live and breathe more Sankey. And the Sankey programme is continuing after this as well. And we've got a lot of things lined up. And if anybody's interested beyond the commission itself, you can find out more about what we're doing. People can get involved with. At the moment, we're focusing on particular community groups, but we have lots of ways of getting involved, whether you would like to be a volunteer or take part in adult workshops or young people's workshops. You can get in touch with me. If you'd like to know more about the commission itself, I can take some questions now, and certainly I'm more than happy to email anybody with further information if you've got any particular questions.
Okay, thanks, Rachel. So how long are these positions for?
And the commission, so if we're looking at interviewing at the end of November, so basically then there'll be a research period from before Christmas, and we're not looking at having an exhibition or a thing, and we're calling it, you know, a thing,
yeah,
until the end of March, beginning of April.
Okay.
So it's quite a good period of time to research and be making, and we've got studio space at Signal as well, should the artists wish to use that space.
Yeah. Because Signal's just got a whole load of money, hasn't it, to redevelop and do all sorts of nice things to the building.
It has. So I don't know if you know the building, Tom, but
I do.
When the frontage of the building is lovely, but it is very difficult if you're a member of the public and you're just wanting to pop in to see what is happening. We've got 3 floors with various different tenants on it, doing lots of wonderful things. We've got a wonderful theatre group that works there, the Ashton Group. And we've got lots of tenants doing amazing things, but we operate a buzzer system. And sometimes it's a little bit off-putting, I think, for those who perhaps are not sure what's happening within.
Yeah.
I think the idea we've had for many, many years is about making that a lot more open and inclusive. And so the idea, and it's all started now, the bottom floor now has all been ripped up. It's unrecognizable. So it's going to have a very, hopefully, welcoming, inclusive reception area and gallery and cafe. So it's you're able to just come in off the street. You can have a cup of coffee. You can look at some artworks. You can look at some of the Sankey Archive as well, and just ask some questions. And you know, it can be a workshop space as well, and be available for other community groups to come and use as well. A little bit more.
Okay. All right. So opportunity to work with the Sankey Archive. Rachel's your contact. I think Amy has put in a link to the archive there, and I love the Sankey photograph so much, especially, you know, that when I was there a few weeks ago for the opening of an exhibition, which I've forgotten what it was now, but there was lovely, massive blow-up images of the Sankey, some of the key Sankey images there, and when you see them close up, they're just astonishing in their quality and in the way they just capture the human spirit. You know, normal people doing normal things, or normal people doing extraordinary things, often ships being launched, etc., etc. So great stuff. All right, Rachel, thanks for coming on and for letting us know about that, and good luck with that. Sounds like it's a good project to get involved in. We're just going to finish now with Amy's very kindly put in a link to various marketing events that are coming up as part of our business program. There's a music meetup coming up on the 28th of November. We've got the big meet coming up on the 21st of November at the University of Cumbria in Carlisle, the Brampton Road campus, when we're looking at how we can all help young people build creative careers in Cumbria. So I'm just putting together the guest list of speakers there, but also very much participatory people in the audience too. So I think that's going to be a really, really good session. So if you can get to that, I really recommend that you do. There's a link to sign up for on Eventbrite that's sitting there in chat. I also just wanted to bring your attention to, if I may, I've just done another episode of my podcast, Behind the Scenery, and it's a profile of Lorna Singleton, who is a basket maker that a lot of you will know, based in Grisdale Forest. And also an exhibition that came together, we talked about on this call about a month ago, called 86 Baskets, where she's trained up 7 people to keep this lovely Cumbrian traditional basket making project on the road. If I'm organised, I'm going to play you a tiny bit of film that I filmed with Lorna there as well. Here she is with her baskets. Let me see if this works. So there she is at work, doing her amazing thing with the spelt basketry, and I had a lovely chat with her. Great sounds that we recorded, all that work going on. That's a bit of oak, I think it is, that she's stripping back to make a weaving ribbon for a basket. Such an amazing talent that she's got to do that. And part of what she's about is teaching other people to be able to do it as well. So they've had a year-long project, which is culminating in this beautiful exhibition, which is taking place right now until the end of November at Grisdale Visitor Centre at Grisdale Forest. Anyway, I made a nice half hour with her, talking to her, really getting under the skin of what drives Lorna as well. Why does she do what she does? How does she get into it? And why does it matter to her? And then I got a chance to chat to some of her students at the opening night of the exhibition too. So if you fancy giving that a listen when you're next washing up or driving the car or whatever, it's there for you on our website. I think we're there. Abby's got a lovely dog as well. Hello, Abby's dog. Very nice to see. We always like dogs and cats on this call. So Amy's dog and Abby's dog should meet one day.
Oh,
Rachel's got a dog too. So we've got, I think 3 dogs is almost a record for this.
yeah.
By the way, dogs can come at any time during the call. It doesn't have to be the last 2 minutes.
Oh,
Thank you so much to Sarah and to Jilly and to Abby and to Rachel for telling us all those different things going on in Cumbria at the moment. It's been really, really interesting this morning. Thank you. Next week, we are going to hear a bit more about the Norman Nicholson Society, which is based in Millham, which is going great guns in trying to restore and make into a cafe and a museum, the place where Norman lived all his life. So we're going to find out about that. And also a nice, interesting project going on at Prism at the moment, BlueJam Arts in Carlisle, which I'll tell you more about next week too. So plenty to go out next week as well. Thank you for joining us this morning. If it was your first call, you might come back again. If it's your 197th call, maybe you'll come back for the 198th, and look out for a special guest for the 200th call, which will be at the end of November. Thank you, everybody. Nice to see you all. Have a good weekend.